Sigourney Weaver's mouth clearly says something different from what you hear during the Chompers scene. That mismatch was a deliberate protest against a studio decision made mid-post-production. These are 15 hidden details you completely missed in Galaxy Quest. Number 15. The NSEA Protector reads as a convincing in-universe vessel with its own fictional history. It is not. The hull registration NTE 3120 stands for Not the Enterprise, a tongue-in-cheek legal hedge coined by an ILM production assistant as protection against any complaint from Paramount. VFX co-supervisor Bill George confirmed the registration was deliberately planted. The Protector's design is also the Enterprise inverted, with a dish-shaped engine section and a boxy command section, the reverse of the real ship. Look at the Protector hull during any clear exterior shot, and read the registration printed on the side. Every time the ship appears on screen, you are looking at a legal disclaimer disguised as science fiction, and the villain's name hides an entirely different kind of joke. Number 14. Villain Sarris reads as a menacing alien warlord built entirely from imagination. He is not. The name was lifted directly from real film critic Andrew Sarris, who had previously given a negative review to producer Mark Johnson's film, The Natural. Johnson confirmed this in published interviews. Sarris himself learned of the tribute and said he was unconcerned as long as his name was spelled correctly. Watch the moment Sarris first appears on the view screen, and consider that his threatening name was borrowed from a newspaper review column. The film's most feared antagonist is a joke aimed at a specific real person, outside the movie. And this kind of layered tribute goes deeper, because another character name was taken directly from a real Star Trek background performer. Number 13. Guy Fleegman reads as a purely fictional creation, the panicking minor crew member who expects to be the first casualty. The name is an explicit tribute to Guy Vardaman, a recurring background performer and stand-in for Brent Spiner on The Next Generation. Writer Robert Gordon confirmed the tribute. Vardaman reportedly nearly fell out of his chair when he discovered the homage. Watch Guy's very first convention scene and notice how his anxiety mirrors the actual position a background performer occupies. Always present, always expendable, never the focus. A character built around meta-commentary on disposable cast members was named after a real one. Sam Rockwell, who played him, was the last principal cast member signed and nearly did not take the part at all. Number 12. Sam Rockwell's performance reads as someone who inhabited this role from the beginning. He was the very last principal cast member signed and was actively uncertain about accepting. He had been offered a lead role in an independent film at the same time. Actor Kevin Spacey, working with Rockwell on Broadway during The Iceman Cometh, told him directly that he knew what to do. Director Dean Parisot sent Rockwell a case of stomach remedy as a gag gift to push him over the finish line. According to the Never Surrender documentary, the anxiety Rockwell brings to every moment was modeled on John Turturro in Miller's Crossing and Bill Paxton in Aliens. The character most associated with existential dread was played by an actor who genuinely did not know if he should be there. Number 11. Fred Kwan reads as a calm, easygoing crew member who stays relaxed no matter what surrounds him. That calm was a specific and deliberate acting choice. Actor Tony Shalhoub and Parisot agreed during pre-production that Fred would be played as perpetually distracted throughout the film, rooted in widely circulated stories about David Carradine's famously unfocused demeanor on the set of Kung Fu. The paper bag of snacks Fred carries everywhere was invented by Shalhoub as a physical stand-in for a trait the film's rating would not allow them to show directly. Watch Fred in any crisis sequence and notice his expression never shifts regardless of what is happening around him. That calm is not serenity. It is a performance choice built on a Hollywood legend about a different iconic television series. Number 10. Gwen DeMarco reads as a glamorous cast member trapped in a role that underraces her intelligence. Actress Sigourney Weaver told Parisot before production that Tawny Madison required blonde hair and a prosthetic bust, framing both as specific satirical choices about how science fiction roles for women were designed and marketed. She called the character her anti-Ripley. Weaver kept both the wig and the prosthetic after filming ended as personal souvenirs. Look at Gwen in the opening convention sequence and compare her appearance to every action sequence that follows. The visual gap between those two versions of the same character is the entire satirical argument Weaver was making. One specific line of her dialogue in the film was also replaced in post-production to hide a studio decision. Number 9. During the Chompers sequence, Gwen delivers a line of frustrated dialogue that plays cleanly in the finished film. That line was re-recorded in post-production after DreamWorks re-edited the film to chase a younger audience following the Rugrats movie's unexpected commercial success at Christmas 1998. Producer Mark Johnson stated on the record in a Hollywood Reporter oral history that the original line was one of the film's best laughs and he still regrets the change. Weaver has said the mismatch between her visible mouth shape and the dubbed audio was intentional, a protest against the studio decision. Pause on Weaver's face during that specific moment, and watch her lips. The shape does not match the word you hear, and that re-editing left another visible trace in the very next sequence. Number 8. In the Chompers sequence, Gwen's costume appears zipped before she reaches the abort controls and then unzipped immediately after she presses the button. This is not a continuity error. It is the visible trace of a deleted scene confirmed in footage on the 10th anniversary Blu-ray, in which Gwen passed 2 of Sarris's guards before reaching the controls. Explaining the costume change, production designer Linda DeSena, a veteran of Star Trek The Motion Picture, built the corridor to look deliberately cheap so the hazard would feel like something a low-budget 1970s television production would actually construct. Watch Gwen's neckline closely from her approach to the controls through to the aftermath. The change happens between cuts with no in-scene explanation. What looks like a mistake is a map of something the studio removed. Number 7. The Thermians move in a subtly wrong way throughout the film, arms slightly out of sync with their steps, a persistent quality that sets them apart from every human on screen. Parisot and the cast held daily sessions in which the actors were specifically trained to move like the marionette characters from Jerry Anderson's Fireball XL5, puppets whose limbs moved on different rhythms because of the strings. Actor Enrico Colantoni developed the Thermian voice spontaneously in his audition using a Yale vocal resonance exercise. Parisot immediately used Colantoni's audition as the template every other alien actor was required to follow. Watch any group Thermian scene and look at how the arms swing relative to the legs. The technique came from a children's puppet show, and Steven Spielberg merely changed their entire appearance. Number 6. The Thermian cephalopod form reads as a confident production design choice. It nearly did not survive production. Spielberg visited the set and recommended the Thermians' real forms be made significantly more humanoid, closer to the style used in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because he felt audiences needed to connect with them more immediately. Producer Mark Johnson has said in the Never Surrender documentary that the cephalopod design only narrowly survived that conversation. Look at the first full reveal of the Thermians' natural form and consider that this design almost never reached the finished film. The most visually distinctive alien design exists because the production resisted a specific note from one of cinema's most successful directors of alien films. The villain's ship holds another hidden tribute entirely. Number 5. The rotating chompers in the engineering corridor read as an absurd hazard that exists because the Galaxy Quest television show was poorly designed. Writer Robert Gordon confirmed in published interviews that the chompers were inspired by a sequence in director Paul W.S. Anderson's 1997 film Event Horizon. Taken as a visual reference and placed into a comedic context, DeSena built the corridor with visible padding and mechanical construction so the hazard would feel like something a low-budget production would actually build. Look at the chomper set during any traversal sequence and notice the rubber padding and visible scene lines. A sequence that reads as parody of bad television design is a tribute to a horror film hidden inside a comedy. The film's most famous line followed a similarly accidental path into the cut. Number 4. By Grabthar's Hammer reads as a perfectly constructed piece of fictional mythology. Gordon has said the line was written as a placeholder he planned to replace during later drafts. He kept delaying because crew members began using it between takes, and it was eventually printed on production t-shirts before any replacement was chosen. Actor Alan Rickman shaped the dramatic weight around the line himself, pushing for the Quellic scene to carry real emotional stakes so the phrase would land as genuine rather than throwaway. Watch Rickman's face in that scene and look at the deliberate pause before he delivers it. That timing was Rickman's contribution, not the script's. One member of the real Star Trek cast later said Rickman's most emotional speech in the film was almost word-for-word accurate. Number 3. Alexander Dane's speech about being reduced to a single catchphrase reads as the film's emotional center. According to BBC interviews with actor Patrick Stewart and the Never Surrender documentary, Michael Dorn told Stewart that Rickman's in-character rant about once having been a serious stage actor bore a close resemblance to something Stewart himself had said between takes on The Next Generation. Stewart initially refused to see the film until Jonathan Frakes called him. He later said no one laughed louder at the screening. Watch Rickman deliver the speech in the convention green room. Its most pointed target may have been watching from a cinema seat. What reads as parody is, according to someone who was there, also documentary. Number 2. Dean Parisot's direction reads as the only version of this film that could have existed. It is not. DreamWorks originally hired director Harold Ramis in late 1998 to helm the production. Ramis pursued Alec Baldwin, then Kevin Kline, then Steve Martin for the lead and could not reach agreement with the studio. He exited in February 1999, 3 weeks before principal photography was scheduled to begin. Parisot, producer Johnson's preferred choice, stepped in with Tim Allen already attached. According to a Hollywood Reporter oral history, Alan was simultaneously choosing between Galaxy Quest and Bicentennial Man. He chose Galaxy Quest. Look at the convention crowd sequences in the opening, and notice the tone of genuine affection rather than condescension. That warmth arrived with a replacement director 3 weeks before cameras rolled. Number 1. The final bridge sequence shows every main crew member taking a hit from Sarris before the confrontation ends. Watch it carefully. Guy, who has spent the entire film insisting he is expendable and certain to be eliminated first, is the only crew member who does not get hit in that lineup. Parisot and Gordon confirmed this was a deliberate choice embedded in the production from the start. The character who existed to be eliminated is the only one who survives unscathed. Look at each crew member during the Sarris bridge sequence from the moment he opens fire through to the resolution. Every other principal takes a hit. Guy stands untouched. The setup for this punchline began in the film's first scene and paid off invisibly inside the action of the last one. Galaxy Quest contains a legal joke on its hull, a villain named after a film critic, a costume mismatch that maps a deleted scene, and a survival punchline hidden inside the final battle. Every scene rewards a second look. Which hidden detail surprised you most? And what film should we open next?